Well, good morning, everybody, you beautiful New Zealanders. I'm just going to finish off a series that I've been doing on a really good piece written by Muriel Newman from the New Zealand Centre for Political Research on mana or money. And she's looking at all the ways in which iwi interference in business is negatively affecting business operations in New Zealand. There's bribery, there's corruption. All sorts of things are happening in the background that nobody knows about. Now, if you want to see all the others in the series I've done, just go to number 1. They're on our YouTube channel. But today I want to pick up where we were yesterday. And we left off by saying that accordingly, we campaigned against the introduction of MACA. Now, MACA is the Marine and Coastal Act and 2010, and that's where the possibility of all the beaches in New Zealand being given over to Maori was opened up. Well, Muriel Newman writes, and she says, accordingly, we campaigned against the introduction of MACA, then opposed the first High Court case, Edwards, that was the case, in the public interest. So they started to oppose this, which is really good because nobody knew about it. And this is the way they want it, the activist judges and people in government. And the media obviously is working with the activists, Maori activists around the country to suppress this information so nobody gets to hear about it. Everything's being put through by stealth. But instead of deciding against the claimants, that is, the claimants are the Maori who are claiming huge sections of our coastline, instead of deciding against the claimants, instead of the court deciding against the claimants, the judge, we went through that, his name was Churchman, elevated tikanga, that's Maori religion, above stringent property rights tests that have been designed to rule out any opportunity applications. So our law is designed to stop people doing this kind of thing where they become opportunistic and they enter into corruption, bribery, and so on. Our law is designed to stop all that and to close the loophole and all of that, but tikanga opens it right up again. Tikanga is Maori law. In doing so, he opened the floodgates for most claims to succeed. So Muriel Newman writes, we appealed the judgment of the Court of Appeal, asking for the judges to interpret MACA as Parliament intended. Remember what Parliament intended? They said that for Maori to have a piece of the coast, they had to prove that they had continuous use of it between 1840 and today, and they had exclusive use of it. Nobody else was using it. Now that was the original intent of the Act in 2010. But what did the judge do? Churchman and co. They rejected the course of action and instead opted to lower the bar. Instead of doing what Parliament said, they lowered the bar. Can you believe that? So what you're having here is you're having the courts starting to push the government around. The courts become the government. Really, the government is superior, is supreme in New Zealand. And whatever the government says, the courts are supposed to do, not the other way around. But now, because during the time of Labour, activist judges were put in place all around the country, now judges are starting to push the government around. They're starting to act like the government. So virtually the entire New Zealand coastline will end up being controlled by competing tribal groups. Can you imagine this? This is just taking us right back to pre-1840. Well, Muriel says, as a result, we have now decided to appeal that judgment to the Supreme Court, that's the highest court in the land, to challenge not only the Court of Appeal's interpretation of MACA, but also the judicial activism that is damaging our courts and undermining democracy and rule of law. So now we have what Muriel calls judicial activism. That is, she's talking about activists, Maori activists, some of them white looking, some of them obviously Maori, inside the court system. Now, I was assaulted by a Maori woman, 2019, and the police charged her with assault with intent to cause grievous bodily harm, and she was let off. She was let off. They had all the footage, video footage of what happened. They had perfect sound, perfect video. There was no excuse, and the judge let her off. And that's because that judge was an activist judge, letting Maori off crime so that they could bring the crime stats down and say, well, look how good we are at bringing Maori prison numbers down. That's what they're doing. But judicial activism has also been installed by the Labour government. It's going to be hard for National to get it out. In fact, there doesn't seem to be any desire in the National Party to get these activist judges out. What's going to happen is when they come to ruling on cases that involve Maori, no matter what they are, they're just going to favour the Maori, which is what's happening with Macca. They just absolutely favoured this Judge Churchman. He just favoured Maori. And remember how he did it? In yesterday's video, that's number 7, I explained how Judge Churchman, he got his advice from, quote, Maori experts, unquote, who gave him advice about what to do with this. Can you believe that? And that's what he did. Well, Muriel says, if you share our concerns and would like to help, then please support the Supreme Court fundraiser by clicking here. I'll put this document in the description of this video so you can actually get the whole document for yourself. Since most New Zealanders are unaware of the danger of Macca, Macca, remember, is the Marine and Coastal Act poses the loss of all our beaches. If funds follow, we will initiate an advertising campaign to bring these urgent concerns to the public and our politicians. Because at the moment, what you have here is you have Erica Stanford and you have Luxon, and you have people like Tama Potaka, the Ministry of Maori Development, Minister of Conservation. You have them all believing that the Treaty of Waitangi is a partnership, and it's not, with Maori, and it's not. So, Muriel Newman writes, a cynic or perhaps a realist would conclude that the cultural agenda, stop there, the cultural agenda that's now confronting New Zealand, that is the Maori takeover of New Zealand, is being driven by money, not mana. Well, that's 100% right. And there is a, quote, cultural agenda at work in New Zealand. Hey Puapua has said that Maori want to be in complete control of New Zealand by 2040. And their whole agenda is being driven by money, not mana. In other words, it's not just Maori wanting to have a place in society, it's Maori wanting to get as much money as they possibly can, as fast as they can. It's time for the cancer of cultural appeasement to be removed. She's 100% right about that. So it's a cancer, she says. This cancer of appeasing Maori, giving in to Maori, letting Maori get away with everything everywhere, putting in activist judges. See, this is a plan. What most people don't realise is this is a plan that's been activated by radical Maori to take over the country. So they've got into the schools, the universities, the judicial system. They've got in everywhere. Muriel says it's been tolerated for far too long and become far too institutionalised in our government departments and the courts. Christopher Luxon, she says, this is Muriel talking, has recently demonstrated decisiveness in changing his cabinet. It's time he applied that decisiveness to this issue. Now I want to show you something over here just as we keep working on this. Here is a excellent article by Gary Judd, who's a King's Counsel. And whether you know it or not, the Auckland University Law School, Auckland University of Technology, has made it compulsory for Māori to do courses on tikanga starting 2024. In fact, it's not just the law school, it's the whole of Auckland University. All Otago University law students are going to have to do a study on tikanga, Maori law and religion as part of their course. Now, I'm going to discuss this tomorrow, and to just keep developing the whole, the way that New Zealand has been infiltrated by radical Maori activists, and they've taken over the judiciary, they've taken over the schools, the universities, and this is just one example.